This is Sandra Ponce, and you're watching the Break It Down show.
I have missed you so much. We used to have the best adventures traveling to the city and other places to record shows back when we did Popping the Bubbl. Everybody should go check out Popping the Bubbl because there's all kinds of interesting emerging technology that now would be like 10 years old. And I wonder what, if any of those companies have survived or have been bought out. Do you ever think about this? Like, where are these guys now?
Yeah, and I'm in touch with a lot of the guests. I think one of our favorite road trips was to go see the guys down in LA. Now I'm like my mind, like my what the name of the company was. It was a blockchain company, and it was with Mabud
Oh,
and
Everpedia.
Everpedia. Yeah, Everpedia. So I think they had a long run. I think they may have been purchased. Of course, Lisa uh, Lisa Wang, the Bad Bitch Empire. I mean, she is rocking it everywhere,
Yeah.
and so she's done incredibly well. Yeah, it would be cool to go and do like a revisit of all of those episodes, all those guests. But yeah, it's I can't believe it's been. Has it been 10 years?
Something like that. Yeah. I mean,
8 years,
we
right?
eight
Yeah, it was
years.
like
Yeah.
2017. Yeah. hmm
Yeah. But
hmm
so much. I mean, there were just so many incredible guests, and that Beniliel guy. What was his first name? He was talking about
Oh yeah,
Bluetooth.
Misha. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Misha. Yeah,
Misha. I mean, yes.
and the all the blockchain things. We've seen during our run. We have seen just using. Well, gosh, I mean, you think about the value of Bitcoin. It went from like 16ish to well over 100K in that time.
Right. I mean, and
And
you have your little your crypto faucet going. Is it still
yeah,
going?
no, because it was just it wasn't enough traction,
Yeah.
and and but the investing kept going, and so look, I'm not a crypto millionaire or anything, but the small amount of money I put in is a lot bigger now.
Yeah. Yeah. Those were sort of the beginning times of crypto and blockchain and ICOs. And yeah, the industry has really matured quite a bit. And yeah, it's been very interesting to watch, although I wasn't really immersed in it the entirety of of all that time. Yeah, going back from the early days to now is very interesting, and the adoption of all of it, not just Bitcoin and ETH, but a lot of different other currencies. And those currencies, we were going to talk about ReFi. They're very, very a big part of ReFi, which is regenerative finance. And they're
Mhm.
really becoming pivotal in funding and fueling and accelerating this whole movement of regenerative finance and regenerative action for the planet. So yeah, I think that those ideas were there in the early days of the ICOs with the initial coin offerings, but they didn't quite, make it there. But of course, Nori was one of those companies. I think they had a long run, but Regen Network is still in it. In
Mm.
fact, now and then I still have conversations with Gregory, and yeah, they're the OG of the whole refi space, and survived, all this time, and are still, very much a key player in what's happening.
What what hasn't worked out that you're like, man, I wish that would have worked, but it didn't.
What hasn't worked out that I wish it would have, that I didn't? I mean, I think that there's different, variations of what's worked for some and what's not worked for other. I mean, you can see like huge successes in the NFT space, and
Mm.
also a lot of NFT collections just withering and die on the vine. So I think it's just there's always the extreme of the uh, of what can what is actually happening. Um, but I think that everything is sort of going through a refinement process, a
Mm.
learning process, and a stepping up process, because more and more people are now in it. As I mentioned, like the user interfaces are becoming a lot more easy. You may have even been interacting with a Web3 platform, which now Web3 is sort of the encompassing term for blockchain, crypto, NFTs, tokens, ReFi, that you can interact with Web3 platforms without really knowing you are. So it's happening in the background and associated to an email address. So it's been very much evolving and just growing, and even new applications that we didn't I never thought would be possible, but I see them more and more, such as really the funding of this regenerative space activities, land stewardship, just doing good, positive work for the planet. I myself have been a recipient of some of these rewards. They're called retroactive rewards for my planet positive behavior. And I think that that's just going to continue to grow because, I think that we, when we were having our podcast, that it was, very much about mobile and applications and, building traction in those types of technology areas. And just like in those types of, mobile applications, there needs to be growth, right? And how do you make that growth happen? That's like what every, head of marketing or founder is worried with, is the growth and traction. And one thing that's really fascinating about how this space is developed in blockchain in particular is that a lot of blockchains are now seeing that they can have growth by investing or by putting monies up in things that are actually good for the planet. And I think that we see that a lot of that association, like with corporate sponsorships, like why does Salesforce sponsor something, an International Ocean Film Festival or something to do with the ocean, because they see that alignment as a positive for their brand. And so, there's that benefit. There's the benefit of these blockchains just seeing a lot of activity, a lot of trading volume, getting the feedback from the users, of course, and increasing that pot of usership and starting to get more mainstream adoption so that, people see them. Like, for example, Celo is one of the very, very active blockchains that's contributing to the ReFi space. And we actually even launched an NFT collection with them. But they are known as the carbon neutral blockchain. And so, to think about, for builders to think about going first to a Celo for their projects that they're building, or, artists to want to mint their collections on Celo, or for, these different types of, new innovations to be built on the blockchain is very good. And I think that that's what the whole blockchain ecosystem is really starting to understand and grasp. And it gives me a lot of hope for the future of this space, because I really think that, I think ReFi is the future. I think that there's really no other way, because, and I can get into that, but in terms of being able to accelerate the innovations that are needed for the planet, and, and also what's needed at a local level that communities are not getting, for us to be able to take matters into our own hands, so to speak, and to, put into place the things that we want to see for our communities. I just think that that's the only way to go, and so, it is exciting to see the maturity of the space. And and Misha's company was Nodal. Remember Nodal?
Nodal, yeah, Nodal, NODL.
I think they're still around.
Nice. I'll put a link up there for that.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting things I learned, then we talked to, is it Miko Matsuri? Was that his name?
Miko, yes.
And we were at that Silicon Beach blockchain thing.
Yes.
And he said, never bet against software engineers. Because, and we saw this, like, if you recall, we were at one of the accelerators kind of over by Sherman's Bank in San Francisco, in the Fido. They had that basement style startup thing. And there was these, I'll say, kids that were just focused on making testing of servers smarter, for example, among other things. And so it can go out and look at all these little micro things and say, hey, server 572 has a fan that's cavitating a little bit. If you get over there now, it won't fail. You can, and it was just like super smart, tiny little things. But from their point of view, it created a ton of efficiency. And one, you don't have servers breaking and getting worse damage. Two, you're not spending a bunch of money on thousands of little small problems. They were eliminating that. And you think about the software ability to constantly just tighten up, and improve the efficiency of something, it is remarkable. And that lesson has stuck with me all these years
Yeah,
since.
I mean, and now with AI, that can happen. The robots can do it all for
Yeah,
us.
I
So
know.
yeah, it is. I love that. I actually should have gone back and done a better retrospective of all the things, all the conversations that we had back then. But yeah, it would be fun to, just see that change, or even go back and talk to some of those people again that were extra curious about.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Miko Matsumura, by the way. I think I said
Nico.
Matsumura, whatever. Yeah, he was interesting. If you could get anybody back first among the guests, who pops up in your head from the Popping the Bubble days?
Hmm, that's such a good question. I mean, it's so hard because everybody really is so fascinating. I
Right.
think, yeah, Lisa Wang probably. Uh, she's just, become such a rock star. Well, she always was a rock star. She always is a rock star. So yeah, I'd love to, she's gone into, investing in women-led startups now, full the Bad Bitch Empire. But I think she always envisioned that, so she had that vision early on. Also, Rania, I just would love to catch up with Rania.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. What's got obviously the refi thing. Actually, let's talk a little bit more about refi and help us who don't know, help us understand what refi is. Again, I know it involves the environment and the choices that we make, but help me go dive deep into that one more time for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say ReFi is a movement to accelerate regenerative initiatives via crypto. And that
Okay.
can be done in a number of ways. It can be done having an NFT collection that is all about saving elephants or panthers. It can be, it can be used, pooling funds in a way that, the community can benefit from an investment in something that's a public good. So public good is a big factor in ReFi. Public goods, which are just what you think they are. Public goods are clean air, clean water, education, things that are public, are goods for the community at large. Also, impact at the local level is something that's a big part of the ReFi space. So, for communities to really take control of what they actually need, and to make those determinations themselves, not to be dictated by an NGO that's coming in, from who knows where, to saying, "Oh, I know what you need to solve your problem." No,
Yes.
it's solutions at the local level, decided by the community, and yeah, it's very similar. I mean, it's crypto for impact, for regeneration. So there's all of these really cool new mechanisms that have really evolved in crypto since, in the last few years, which they come under the headline of, or they're called DeFi. It's like generally called decentralized finance. So those are things like where you have a certain crypto, and so in order for there to be more liquidity, more movement of that crypto, you can actually stake it. So you can put it back into the pool so that it gets just more movement and flow, and that is, sort of similar to gaining an interest, right? Gaining interest on your money that you put into the bank. So those kinds of little different kinds of mechanisms, but even more innovative ones that are taking that inspiration from DeFi and then applying it to ReFi, so regenerative finance. So another mechanism that has evolved that's very innovative and super helpful for these smaller grassroots initiatives around the world is what's called quadratic funding. And
Mm.
quadratic funding is something that has been used, I believe, uniquely to ReFi through GitHub. It was, innovated by Kevin Iwaki, founder of GitHub, and essentially, it's a way for you to leverage the power of your community without a huge investment, right? So you basically, there's a period we just actually came out of it. It's the Gitcoin grant fundraising period. We just came out of GG23, and so I encourage my community to give to ReFi Tulum donations of $1 or maybe dollar 50, and then depending on how many of those different small dollar donations I get, that is then there's a multiplier factor that's then applied to those donations. So what is beautiful is that if I get 100 people donating $1, that could then turn into 10,000, 50,000, just depending on what that equation is. So that's another very cool mechanism that has developed out of ReFi. And then there's there's a lot more, but I have another friend in the space that has been doing like really cool stuff with swapping, like creating tokens, swapping, adding a valuable asset, tying it to one of those, and then there's all of these different games that are really being played, and he likens it to it is really kind of magic internet money right now. I mean, it is kind of creating something out of nothing, but you can, these cryptos now are, they're traded for real value. They have real value in the crypto markets. You can use these cryptos for products and services in a lot of places like Tulum. And so, it really is creating this sort of parallel economic system that can, really do good for communities and for the planet.
Nice. Check your ReFi account. Bam. I just dropped some money into it because I like the planet. I like Sandra, and I want to help out. So I don't do a lot, but I try to give what I can.
Oh, gracias, Pete.
Yeah. There's the link for everybody. You can all do the same thing that I just did. You can contribute to Sandra's ReFiTulum.io fund and help enable her to go do what she does. And that way you don't have to do it. You just kick in some money and she'll take care of the rest. All right, so there's that. What else do we want to get into? What do you want to ask me? What should I be asking you about?
Kind of like the things we've been up to lately, or what we've got planned.
Yeah. We did a show with someone who lives down there with you about pyrolysis and taking plastic. Say it again.
Yeah, pyrolysis.
Yeah. How is that going?
Oh, pet gas.
Yeah.
Pet gas is actually called non-catalytic pyrolysis. And just to kind of get a little bit of a refresher on that. So pyrolysis is a way, basically since plastic was created, people have been melting it and, turning it back into petroleum because it comes from petroleum. And those processes up until this technology innovation have historically been very dirty, and the output is very dirty and has to be refined. It's like a very thick crude oil that comes out of that process. And what PetGas has done, their innovation is called non-catalytic pyrolysis, and that is a physics-based process that breaks apart the hydrocarbons of the plastic, and then through vibration, they fall into different drums. This is a large industrial size process, right? And so the outputs are gasoline, kerosene, natural gas, diesel, and I'm missing one. Did I say
paraffin?
Diesel, kerosene, paraffin, gracias.
And a little Coke rock.
Yes,
too.
Exactly. Yes. It's like
I remember.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yes.
Well, I love it because it takes, we often get wrapped up in what I now call natural energy, things that come from the earth, right? We don't even know. This is like a real thing. We don't even know for sure where oil comes from. Some of it biomass, okay, great. But it also seems possible that the earth just naturally generates this liquid form of energy, or the coal form of energy. And so as we try to deal with this, if we can take it out of the ground to do the things that we do with it that are helpful, fertilize things, create medicine, create plastics, clothes, all kinds of things, that's a good thing. But if we can extend the life of that plastic by turning it back into some kind of a fuel to do something else again, all of a sudden you're getting more energy out of the same little ball of liquid energy. And so that's fascinating to me, especially, look, we can do all of these other kinds of energy, but I can't just put a match outside in the sky and light the sunshine on fire. It just doesn't happen. We can't just light wind on fire, but oil is it's so crazy. So we want to take care of the planet, but we also have to take care of the humans on the planet. And it's that balance between how do we how do we get cleaner? How do we extend the value of things? And it's just a fascinating conversation because it's easy to say, I don't want carbon, I don't want oil. But the reality is everything I see around me, everything you see around you is tied to, this natural energy that comes out of the earth. It's a crazy conundrum of
Yeah.
trying to battle all these things. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about it, probably, I guess what's a percentage of people with electric vehicles, would you say, in Los Angeles area? Like maybe 10%,
Yeah, I'd say 10.
20%?
10's a good guess. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so that's that, and the infrastructure is being built to be able to support that, the electric grid, for cars to be able to move, further distances on their batteries. But then in the 90%, like, so what to do about all of those? And I agree with you. I don't think it's like really, a conversation necessarily to do with climate change. I think it's more about to
Right.
do with pollution and what we just see. Like, and that's more evident in places like Mexico, where I step outside of my nice condo, and it's littered with plastic. But places like the United States, that the problem is still there. We just don't see it, because the fact is that only 8% of plastic is actually been recycled of all the plastic that's been produced, and it just, there is no other final disposition for plastic.
Right.
There's only two types of plastic that can actually even be recycled. They can only be recycled up to 4 times. So
Mm.
what happens with the 92%? And that's what, this process, this non-catalytic pyrolysis, it can take any type of plastic. It can take plastic bags, which there really is not much you can do with plastic bags. Although
Yeah.
there are really new exciting technologies that are, starting to transform that into furniture. We actually want to do that too. But yeah, so pet gas is able to take all of those different plastics, even styrofoam, which is just everywhere. It's
Yeah.
thing we find on our beach cleanups, and it's just like when you see that in the wild, and you see how quickly it just dissolves into nothing. And all of these plastic bags, they're called lágrimas de la sirena, mermaid tears. That's what they call them here.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that microplastics are in us. We're ingesting them. They've been found in the brain. They've been found in men's testicles. They've in the breast milk. So
Right.
yeah, it's a problem that's we have to tackle. We have to do something about it. And this allows us to really battle the energy issue, battle the pollution issue, battle supply chain and energy independence and resiliency. That's what I think a lot of countries also need to are recognizing that they need to have, as we do as individuals as well. We're all recognizing, yeah, we need to be a little bit more independent, right, from the grid. Maybe grow our own foods. Maybe have some other sources, like that's, I think, crypto is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what pet gas is, and the exciting thing that's happening right now is there is a plant that's being delivered to the UK, literally as we speak, and with
Very
that
exciting.
going into the UK and the EU, the fuel is going to be tested and certified by the European Union, and that's really going to expand everything in terms of the commercial viability and other, and as in Europe, they're always a lot more strict on their rules, right? They're strict on
Hmm.
on their environmental policies, stricter than in anywhere else in the world. And so they are looking at they are very serious with the organizations and the corporations that are there, that they have to look at their reducing their carbon footprint, and this is a way for them to do that. So I think there's probably a lot more in terms of benefits to companies that are using these types of certified fuels from plastic, than that are then being tracked in terms of like their origin, and then also the fact that they're also being sequestered, and then the blockchain component of that also strengthens that, just from a transparency and certification. It'll be ingrained. We'll know exactly. I mean, I really look forward to the day when we can say that there's that we picked up 1,000 kilos of plastic from Shangan, the bioreserve here, which is a sanctuary to turtles, and say that we've been able to then power vehicles in Tulum, or I don't know how many
Yeah.
X number of vehicles, or or do something else like take kids to school or something. I don't know.
Sure. Sure.
It's exciting to be very close to a lot of those realities being in place, and even having
Yeah.
the plant here in Tulum, which we just really we're just anticipating. Of course, we need funding and funders for that, but it feels very close. It feels like we can all taste it. Of course, it's not. It's very it's just ready to get there. It's been
Yeah.
a long, hard road for all of us, and we're just ready to, really see the impact of this technology and it being received as a solution for this problem around the world.
One of the powerful things about pet gas that I know, so just from my time in the Arab world, culturally, they're not big on bagging up trash. I mean, they don't think about litter. It's just their way of life. And I'm not saying all Arab people in all countries, but it is very common that the stuff just blows out to the desert and turns into a big plastic ball and out into the ocean. And here comes to Mexico. Like, that is just a fact. If
Mm-hmm.
you ever want to see plastic bags on the loose, go to Djibouti. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
there's a lot of them, right? But if it all of a sudden became valuable, where you could take it and do something with it and convert it into something else, now maybe it'll be less culturally hard for them to just let it go. They're like, hey, there's money there, and just
Yeah.
grab it and police it up. And that would already be a big benefit in terms of just corralling this plastic that does get just. I was thinking about that. I was in Egypt just after 9/11 in 2001. And there were these two Egyptian dudes walking down the road. This is on like a military compound.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, so before this, there was a little soldier, girl, and she's walking along. And she went to throw her paper in the trash. And the garbage can was, I don't know, like 50 feet off of the sidewalk. And the wind caught it right as she went to go put it in, and it blew it. And so she had to go do the whole comical like chase and stomp until she finally captured this one piece of like napkin. And then she walked all the way back over to that garbage can. And she got it in there. And she put it in. She was like, yes, I did it. And you can see her all excited. She doesn't know I can watch all this. As she's like, yes, I did it, and walking away, two Egyptian dudes, paper in the air, didn't even care. Like, didn't even try to go. And look, this is not a knock on Egyptians, of course, right? But it's culturally, it is not a big deal.
Common, and I think it's common in a lot of places. I think we were lucky in that we went through like a rigorous education of like
Right.
don't be a litter bug, and that
Mhm.
was these countries haven't had that same kind of initiative, although it's growing, at least in Mexico. And there
Yeah.
is the similar issue of people will throw their stuff into the jungle, and they're, but that's also the other side of the equation to the system that we're putting together here
Mm.
in Tulum through Pet Gas is the incentivization through tokens. And right now, we do a lot of beach cleanups, a lot of town cleanups and cenote cleanups, and those are all rewarded with Pet Gas coins. And of course, the idea is that those Pet Gas coins will be coins will be able to be used. And we're actually already in conversation with a lot of different businesses here in Tulum that are,
Yeah.
we've been, singing this tune now for, 3 years plus here in Tulum. And so, and Tulum has been, really a mecca for digital nomads and people from all the world, and people that really had to escape their countries during COVID, and they could, and all they had was crypto. I mean, there was Russians here, and they had like, they'd been banned, so they were big early adopters of crypto. So, we've been there's been a lot of visibility here, and I think now business owners are starting to see, okay, yeah, I do want to open. Why would I say no when it is, there are off ramps? It's not like,
Right.
there's ways to get dollars, pesos, pretty much of almost any crypto that is found on an exchange, so there
Right.
should be no that fear of, oh, I don't want to take ETH, or I don't want to take whatever, coin is, I think becoming, reduced, and there's a lot more curiosity also. I think that it's a good time for us to start to, extend and create those connections, on the ground here, the economic connections that'll enable people to actually have that, like, oh wow, I just did a cleanup, which we actually did. We had a use case like this where we were working with a festival called Day Zero, and Day Zero has a very big environmental focus, and it's a 1 day festival that takes place in the jungle near cenotes. So they and their founders are very much they're they've integrated Burning Man principles into their ethos very much. One of them being no trace. And so they really, they do that. They say, leave no trace of the cenote. So there's no trace of the festival, even though it's like 12,000, I don't know how many people, 14,000 people come for this festival, 18 hours. But with them, we actually activated the community ahead of the festival. We did a series of 5 different activations. Each one of those activations was rewarded with pet gas coins as well as the Tulum coins. And at the end, people were able to purchase their festival tickets through the actions that they had taken, for the benefit of Tulum.
Yeah.
So getting more of those examples in place that are tangible, like, I picked up plastic and I got like a ice cream, or, I was able to pay for my groceries at Chedraui. Those are definitely, the next steps for us in terms of really proving out this full circular, end-to-end economic model.
Yeah, and for those people who don't understand this, there's digital currency all around us. There are different kinds of digital currency, and I think you know this about me. I've been using Bing as my search engine for years, and right now I've got about $300 worth of value sitting there, because I search or because I read the news or whatever it is, and it just accumulates, and if I was diligent, I probably could make, I don't know, $100 a year, just participating in that part of my regular life on one channel. And so that's about the pace. You can do more. You can play games and all that. I don't mess around with all that stuff, but by simply just, instead of Googling things, Binging things, there's money there. When you drive on a toll bridge anywhere in California or a expressway where you have to pay, you don't pull out any money. There is no person to pay. It just, bling, just comes out of your account. And we tend to lose sight of the fact that money never rests. It just whoosh, whips around the planet at the speed of light. And you don't have, like, when we're hard on billionaires, we think, they're greedy. And maybe they are. But they don't have pallets and pallets and pallets of cash in a bank vault. Like, that's not how this works. Before I've got a government check that comes, because I was in the military, for everybody watching. It comes every month. Before it gets to me, the bank already knows it. They're already accounting for it. It's already being moved into the places. I'll always get my money, but it's all virtual. And so as we do these things, reward behavior, there was an app called Bumped, and it didn't survive, but what it did is it rewarded you for your consumer behavior. So if you went to Taco Bell, you got like 2 cents. And so you're incentivized to go to Taco Bell. And then they were adding things like, go to this Taco Bell, or whatever it was, and you would get a little bit more value. And slowly over time, and it wasn't a lot of money, but just for general consumption of things, you would get a little value of money, which ultimately, when Bumped, the app, failed, it went into, this is so hilarious. They're like, hey, you got $18 or whatever it was. Hey, and it's all big brands like Verizon and Nike. If you bought these things, you got some kind of value back. They're like, hey, we can't pay you this money out because it doesn't exist, and so we're going to go out of business. So they put it in a mutual fund. So I've got like a little $18 balance somewhere in a mutual fund, which probably doesn't exist anymore. I probably exceeded the value of the fees and everything. But these things happen and they grow. The problem is just scaling them, right? Like if you have a bunch of, like the idea of cleaning, if you go clean up a beach, you get this value back, right? Like we're working on trying to get this to happen, but how do you make it scalable so that there's a return to the other side too, right? So it's very hard to do that kind of balancing of getting enough people so that there's value, so that somebody can come in and say, I'll pay you for the access to these things and reward this good behavior. That's got to be part of the problem, right? Is to get both sides of that audience build to be in agreement so that there's value all the way around and really close that loop that you were talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the beauty of it is also that there are so many good-hearted humans that really just want to have, a clean Tulum. And so
Right.
I think we don't, but you're right to get to to all of the people, and to get to, a lot of the people that maybe don't, have that same kind of consciousness around their environment. It does take more, and it does. Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't think that this is, I don't think that we're a mature industry yet. We're still at the very beginning. For at least, I'm speaking specifically about ReFi.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that we still have, quite a lot of growth to get through before it's more mainstream. But I see that happening. I mean, you've got people like, Jimmy Cohen, who is like now the world record holder for planting trees in one day in a 24-hour period. And, he's getting a lot more visibility, to mainstream audiences and to governments that like are also like, there's a, planting trees has become, quite a big initiative around the world. I think there's like somebody wants to plant 1 trillion trees, or I don't know how many, but, there's a lot of that happening. And so that's what I see more and more of, people that are, just growth and energy and money. So I think, getting to that point, again, I've tasted a little bit of it. I would say it's not, sustainable right now, but, just to get those little influxes of, hey, we see you, we see what you're doing, here's, a few hundred, or, what, for the retroactive citizens, I got like $1,000, and this was a few months ago. So, okay, that's great. So if I could just get like a few more of those lined up, then I could really, be, completely, doing my part, but also getting the reciprocity back for my time and energy, since it allowed me to actually do more. So I think that all is, again, I see the signs. It's all, we're going there, we're getting there. Like, just like, hopefully we'll have World War III won't break out before that all happens. Give us a few years still to clean the plastic problem.
Yeah. Well, it is an interesting conundrum. Again, as always, one of the things, similar things happen over here in this side of things, where we keep it pretty lean. I don't spend a lot of money, but a lot of value comes back to me, whether it's airline points or a check or whatever it is, because they see me working, they see the production. And so they want to support that. They don't want to, they don't have time, but they're like, I have money, not time. So don't quit, keep going. Here's money, here's money.
Yes.
And I would love it to be twice as often. And then if it was twice as often, I would love to be 5 times more. You can always put this money to work, because there's more that I can do. There's work that I can get off my back and give to somebody else. And so when we think about places to invest our extra money, and we want to do good things, Sandra is a good source for that, because I'll vouch for like her heart and where she puts her passion. It's squarely what she's talking about. And so that is why you dig in and you're like, this is money for a good purpose. Sandra is a good cause. So you put the money in, and I know she'll do good things with it. That's why I instantly gave her $20. I don't have a lot more to give her, but but that's how this works, right? Like, I don't want to take the time to go clean up a beach in Tulum. I want to think about it, but I'm going to put this money where you need it, and that's the big thing. Like, when folks look at, when you're trying to get something off the ground, you get to a point where you're so big, all you do is manage your business, and you don't manage the vision anymore, and it's very hard to manage both of these things simultaneously. So that's what I just like, contribute whatever you can to whatever it is that you want to do, right? If it's not Sandra, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's but I think, even, as ReFi Tulum, as an organization, we really see that because of the promise and the opportunity of ReFi to fund a better world, we want to also be, funding and bringing up projects. So, a big part of what we do is also education and, training, onboarding, wallet onboarding, which is always big. But it's also exciting because I get to, send people their first NFT or token or crypto, little bit, so those kinds of things are cool from a hands-on, because it's not, it's nothing has changed. I mean, well, a lot has changed, but it's still challenging, as you know, Pete. Like, it was way more challenging, 8 years ago, to, even have a wallet, or to understand, like, these concepts were very foreign, and it's really taken all this time to get to that place of comfort and, okay, like, Now I know where I keep my, my private key, my seed phrase, all of those things, which are so critical to wallet safety. I know, basically how to not interact with, different, platforms, or, what is like a sign, a warning sign of like, oh, this person's trying to scam you. Because there are, of course, a lot of scams in crypto, which gives, ReFi a bit of a bad name, bit of a bad rap. But again, there's also so many amazing opportunities and people in the space and people that want to support. And I think it's kind of getting back to the beginning of what we were saying from, what we're entering a whole new world, right? This is a new world, AI. It's the things that are happening, the things that we've seen in the last few years, I think have really changed us. I think that really maybe opened a lot of eyes about how to keep ourselves safe, right? And what, who is going to keep us safe? Nobody.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah.
It's me, it's you. We keep ourselves
That's
safe and our communities, right? Like we cannot continue to have dependencies on other systems that are, going to control us or keep us down, or not allow us to have free speech, or, things of that nature. I think that it's we're seeing it. And so that's a big tie to crypto, and why crypto, and, because you have control of your own wallet, you have that agency over your finances. And I think that that's something that is a very important key lesson for us to take as we move into this next era of, AI and whatever is happening, in the global, system, governments, pandemics, blah, blah, blah. It's important for us to build our character, build our resiliency, maybe have a farm, I was like, I'm like looking forward to, having a piece of land and being able to grow some things. So yeah, it's very interesting times.
It is. It is. I was thinking back to when we were doing Popping the Bubbl. One of the things was, what do we do with all the heat that is generated by things like crypto mining and data storage and all this? And there was talks about putting like concrete brooms on the bottom of the bay, for example, to dissipate the heat. I don't know if you recall this, but that this was a problem of that era. Was, man, we're using more and more information all the time. Well, this has all exploded with AI. I mean, the amount of energy required to do these things is going to require the energy industry to deregulate. Right now, President Trump's like, hey, if you build these warehouses here, you can be your own power plant. And that all sounds good on the business side. Also, if you got a bunch of nuclear plants everywhere, how do you keep those safe? So there's like, the problems seem to escalate when we want to have a cute picture of a doggy and a kitty cat, and we use AI to create that. Well, there's a cost to that, right? And we don't see these things. There's a lot of things that we're trying to figure out, and the desire for energy seems to only be more. And I don't even own a robot yet. So I wonder about
reason for other types of, energy
right.
evolution. But in terms of that, there's always that argument always comes up. But is AI and like the crypto space, would you say that's more pollutant or less pollutant than the military industrial complex?
Yeah.
Or is it more pollutant or less
nothing pollutes more than war.
Right.
Pollutes the most. It wins. Yeah, every time.
Right. So yeah, I like that introspection, but I like that introspection applied to the real problems that we have in this world. And I'm not saying AI is not a problem. I mean, AI, we do have to, one thing, the conversation that haunts me that I had not that long ago at the Tulum Crypto Fest is with a guy named Dekai, Dekai, who he is one of the inventors of Google Translate, and has been in AI. He's an OG, AI OG, and he says we really need to think about talking to AI as we would talk to a child, and a very brilliant, smart child that is eager to please us, and this kind of gives me the chills every time I say it. Like, there's generations. This is not even a generation. This is like, let's say a generation is 2 years, 3 years. You and I, Pete, and the people listening, we are the last generation of humans that are going to be training AI. because then it's going to
Yeah.
be robots training AI. And so to me, yeah, I think that we should speak to AI nicely. We should, infuse it with human characteristics and values. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting times. But yeah, I really do. I like, and I want to apply, and there are a lot of people that are applying AI for accelerating exactly these types of regenerative initiatives, which is also very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the growth just in the last couple of years with whatever AI is and whatever it's becoming, it's spectacular. And if we apply that kind of curve to anything from before, video game graphics from, gosh, back when I was a kid, it was a square moving across the screen. Maybe it had a sword, which was a straight line with a thing, and so it's like, and now it's hard to tell at a glance sometimes if something's real or not. And so that kind of growth is going to happen with AI. But to your main point though, here is when we talk about war, we often talk about like imposing our will on somebody else. Nobody gave two shits about Houthis 4 years ago. I would ask people in my world, about the Houthis, and they're like, they're not relevant. All of a sudden, they wanted to make it more expensive for us to get our potato chips from India, or wherever they came from, and we were glad to throw rockets at those people. And there's nothing more damaging to the environment than tanks and militaries that come through and destroy land and destroy humans. It's the worst thing, right? And so we have less war than we used to, but we still have way too much, and the costs there, not just to the environment but to humanity. You think about all the men that have died in between Ukraine and Russia. There's no one to fill that void, and that, not that women are helpless, but it puts them in jeopardy because there's not enough men around to do the men things. That's dangerous for women, and that's super harmful, and none of that is good. So I agree with you. Less war is going to be better.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right, so let's do some happy stuff now that we've talked about war and calamity. What's next? What's next for you? What is on the horizon? There's always something new and exciting you're working on. Tell me what it is.
Yeah, well, we've got Bitcoin Pizza Day is coming up, which is the day, May 22nd. And when was that exactly? Was it 2008, I believe, was the year that it was used, Bitcoin, 10,000 Bitcoin were used to purchase 2 pizzas. So that's always a fun time.
And that
And
pizzeria is probably locked out of its Bitcoin account.
I, I have a feeling it was Papa John's. Like
Oh, was it? Yeah.
or Domino's. It was one of the two.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be funny though if we lost our key and that money is just sitting
Right.
there, giganto. Like my Amazon stock from the mid-90s that I bought. I don't know how to get to access to it. It's so crazy.
You've got to be able to get that. How?
Every time I try to find it, I can't find it. But I'm gonna try again. It's just frustrating, because there it is out there in a Charles Schwab account. We don't know where your money is. Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
But that's the thing about money, like modern money, is you have to work on keeping track of it, and leave notes, because if something calamitous happens to you, the next person has to be able to pick up those notes and go, oh my gosh, there's this resource there, right? I would want my daughter to have whatever I had. And so I have to leave, better than a trail of breadcrumbs, I have to say, hey, dummy, deet, 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 right here, type in these characters. But you have to write them in perfectly, because is it an I? Is it a 1? Is it an L? Oh my God, game over.
Yes. Yeah, but always good to, do some kind of, regular review of those things, just to have good hygiene. And that's also, it's very suggested and recommended for your crypto wallet hygiene, even maybe more so, because there, you really do have to be careful about where you're storing your private keys, because you can be hacked, and then you can have your wallet drained, which is not fun.
Essentially you will be hacked, right? Someone's always trying to hack into you, whether
don't
that thing's a robot or whatever.
And other things like, not keeping too much
Yeah. Oh, it's like you're
on one
sticking.
particular wallet is taking
Right.
your funds in the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it as well. I think it's better now, right?
Your Wi-Fi, my Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi in the middle, it's somewhere. It's hooking up, but that's fine because we can wrap this thing up. What do you want to say in closing? And first off, thank you for catching up with me. I love it so much. It's so neat to see all of us who've known each other for a little bit of time to all these wonderful things that they're doing. So it's always neat to catch up with you.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah, and it's been fun to watch your journey as well, Pete. And yeah, like wow, like I love it. Like that pure perseverance pays off, and people do see the good that you do in the world, and that you give a platform to so many people that want to share their message or tell their stories. And so yeah, I think it's awesome. I think that we're both a testimony to just keeping keeping discipline, keeping at it, not giving up, even when the going gets hard, and really just being true to our purpose in life, right? And so
Yeah.
it's great to connect with you, Pete, on that, and to know I'm happy for you and I'm excited for you.
Thank
Um,
you. Me too for you as well.
I am
Anything
too.
before I wrap? Yes, go ahead.
Anything before you wrap up?
Yeah.
No, I think you put the note to our website, which is refitoloom.io. Of course, people can also follow me on social platforms. I'm on Instagram. I'm Sandramp. You can also follow ReFi Tulum. Our Web3 agency is Unlockable Content Agency, and we have the NFT boutique in Tulum, which is where we showcase all these technologies over a cup of coffee or a smoothie. And just really excited about the new world that we're building together, the new earth that we're building together. And I think that we all have a vested interest in making sure we have a regenerative planet, and that it's, for future generations, as well as for ourselves, and have health and public goods and wellness at.
I
So
love it. I love it. I'm going to turn this off. Everybody, I will see you tomorrow with some incredible guests beyond this week. It's packed with great people. So Sandra's one. Thank you very much, Sandra. I got another one coming up, and you just wait. You'll see. And Sandra, I'll say goodbye to you in a second. Everybody else, bye-bye.
yes, Pete.
Gracias.